So just in case you haven't figured it out, the 2022 Yokohama Fishing Show in Japan happened this past weekend. And that's where all the information on that new DAIWA limit breaker reel came from. And there is a Osaka fishing show coming up in 2 weeks, but I think all the companies have pretty much released all their new tackle to the public already. So the next couple of videos, we're going to talk about the new interesting releases from Shimano. And I'll go ahead and say that the releases from Shimano this year, in my opinion, were pretty mediocre. But if you're a big swim bait guy, then you probably like the releases. But I'm gonna divvy up the releases in a couple of videos coming out over the next few days. But in this video, we're gonna focus on the new Calcutta Conquest BFS, a reel that I predicted had a high chance of being updated, and it was. Now, for the record, just want to say there was no new METANIUM DC, and I'll talk about that in another video. But let's go ahead and watch this Shimano Southeast Asia promotional video on the new Conquest. Now, if you're looking at it, you're wondering, that looks like the old one. I wouldn't blame you at all, because it pretty much looks just like the old reel. And when you go on Shimano Japan's website, like I did the day of the Yokohama Fishing Show, and checked out the lineup of baitcasters to see what was added, at first I kind of skipped over the Conquest, not realizing it was a new model because it looked pretty much the exact same as the old one. Now obviously it's not, but I'll criticize this reel a little bit more as this video goes along. What the hell is this? So let's take another look at this reel by going to the video on, I guess, Shimano Japan's channel called Fishing Cafe. And here's this dude, one of Shimano's pro staffers or pro anglers, and look at that. For all you guys who have the current Conquest BFS, can you tell that this is a new reel? Even the porting at the top looks to be exactly the same as the old reel. Now I can't read Japanese, but according to the website, obviously the new reel is getting the body of the new Calcutta Conquest, which I believe came out in 2020 or 2021. So according to this reel is supposed to palm lower than the old Conquest BFS. Now I'm not sure if the side plate is any smaller, but I think the reel seat probably goes up into the frame a little bit more. But as you can see, as expected, the new Conquest is getting pretty much all the latest updates that the new 22 ALDEBARAN had. So you're going to get the 29.5 millimeter narrower FTB MJL3 spool. So that means that this new Conquest is going to be able to cast down to 1 gram way easier than the old model, even though I never tried casting 1 gram with the old Conquest BFS. So just like the 22 ALDEBARAN, it's going to address a weakness that the old reel had, which is casting down to those really ultralight micro lures, if you're into that, which I am. But since it's got that new FTB brake system, the one that lets you dial the brakes back all the way to 0, it should still be able to long cast almost as good as the old Conquest BFS, which has the bigger spool. And also the fact that they're giving this reel those silent tune O-rings, it should cast just as smooth as the 22 ALDEBARAN. So there's the ALDEBARAN. Now I wish he would pull out the old Conquest so we can get a size comparison. But hold on, check that out. So one of the complaints I had with the old Conquest was that it had pretty much the same handle and knob and nut retainer assembly as the cheaper BFS reels. And with the new Conquest, it has pretty much the same handle assembly, knobs, and cheap looking nut retainer of the cheaper BFS reels as well, which is really disappointing. Pretty lazy by Shimano. Yep, this is the same handle and knob assembly you get with the cheaper ALDEBARAN. But the reel went up in price versus the old model by like $20 or 20,000 yen. Now, one thing about this reel is that they come in 2 gear ratios this time instead of just 1. Now the old Conquest BFS only came in 1 ratio of 6.8 to 1, which I guess is supposed to be high for a round reel, but these new ones are going to come in an HG, which I think is a 7.8, and then the XG, which is right here, which I think is a 8.9 to 1. So pretty much the same as the ALDEBARAN. Now, since it's supposed to have gotten, I guess, slightly smaller, I think it lost a little bit of weight too. I think like 195 grams is supposed to be the weight, so it's going to be just under 7 ounces. Somewhere in the high 6s. Okay, let's go to one more YouTube video and then we'll finish this video up. Okay, so change of plan. We're not going to go to another YouTube video because it really didn't give us very good close-ups, so we're going to go to this guy's website instead. Here's a better look at the new Conquest, and here it is compared to the 2021 Conquest 100, and they look pretty much the same size. Now if you look right here, this picture, wow, it's a pretty high-res picture. What they could have done, in my opinion, to set this reel apart from the old model is see how the regular Conquest is gold, but they left the, I guess, the beveled pieces here silver. They could have at least anodized these beveled areas on this BFS model and made them gold, kind of like what they did with the Cardiff 50 DC. Now that would have looked really nice, and maybe even made this part right here gold, or maybe the top of the external dial gold. See how they did with the Conquest 100, how it's black and then there's silver and gold. They could have did something with this external dial, but other than that, the only way you can distinguish this new Conquest BFS from the old one is the fact that the side plate has less holes. Alright, so there it is compared side by side with the 22 ALDEBARAN. Of course, the ALDEBARAN is still much more low profile. Now right here, here's a good size comparison with the original Calcutta Conquest 50, and you can see that the side plates look pretty much the same size. But the thing about this Conquest 50 is that the side plate hangs off the reel seat lower than the newer round BFS reels. See how here's the reel seat, and look how much of the side plate is hanging below the reel seat on the Conquest 50 versus the new Conquest BFS. So that's what made this old Conquest 50 palm so good, according to people who had it or have it. Alright, there's more info on the new spool and brakes. Now here is a picture of the spools. Here's the ALDEBARAN spool and here's the Conquest spool. Now just like with the previous generation ALDEBARAN and Conquest BFS, their spools weighed pretty much the same, but the dimensions were slightly different. I think the Conquest had a longer spool shaft and a slightly wider spool as well, so they were not interchangeable. But yeah, this new spool is not going to fit in the old Conquest, guys. There's a picture of the micro gears. Of course, there's a drag clicker mechanism. But yeah, I mean, if you have the old reel and you love it, this new one is definitely going to be an upgrade, especially in the casting sensation area, because it should cast just like the 22 ALDEBARAN, which means you're going to get this almost unreal sensation of smoothness when you cast it. It's like the spool is just floating in midair. So if you have the old one and you love that reel, I think the new one, you're probably going to love it even more. But for me, I think I'm going to pass on this reel because I already have the 22 ALDEBARAN BFS, and that's all I need. They didn't give us anything groundbreaking in this reel, and they also of course jacked the price up by 20 bucks. So yeah, that is the 22 Conquest BFS, and here it is right here on Shimano's webpage. I was scrolling down looking for the new products and I just passed right by it, and then I saw the new right here. I was like, wait, that looks just like the old one, because it looks just like the old one. So yeah, I mean, it's a good looking reel. If I already didn't have the 2017 model, then I would probably try it out, but since I do have the 17 model, I seriously doubt I'm gonna get this one, but who knows. I didn't think I was gonna get the 22 Bantam, but I ended up getting that. But these are coming out really soon. If you're a left-hander, they're coming out in February, probably right at the end. So if you're really wanting one, send an email to your preferred, I guess, JDM shop and have them reserve one for you with a pre-order. And then for the right hands, they're gonna come out in April. But who knows, maybe I'll see some videos that the Japanese YouTubers make and I might say, hey, I think I want one, and order one. But for now, I'm gonna hold off and pass on this new Conquest BFS, because the BFS reel I'm really interested in that came out at this year's Yokohama Fishing Show is from DAIWA, and that is the new SS Air. Now let me see if I can pull up a quick picture on that. Now they briefly put it up on DAIWA's website, but they quickly took it down. But some guy on Instagram sent me a message with the pictures. What? Oh well, there's going to be a new DAIWA SS Air bait finesse reel coming out. Probably they're going to release it in a couple of months. It's typical of what DAIWA do. They'll show a lot of their new releases at the Japanese fishing shows in February, and then they'll come out with an even better release a couple of months later. That's the trend they've been on for the last few years. So I expect that SS Air to be announced probably in a month or two. But that's the bait finesse reel that I'm really interested in getting. Alright guys, thanks a lot.